Welcome to Whiskey Uncorked, everyone. I am Brian, and yeah, I think it's time we spin the wheel once again. We did it the first time. It was a lot of fun for me to do. It's completely impromptu. I have no idea what I'm about to be drinking. Could be something good, could be something bad, could be something from anywhere in the world. But we are gonna pull up the wheel here. I'm trying a different recording setup this time, so hopefully there's no massive technical issues here. But I got my whiskey wheel up here, and you should see it come up on the screen. We'll see how it ends up looking since I haven't done it this way before. But once again, I have over 300 different sample bottles of all different kinds of whiskey. And unless it lands on something that I really wanted to save for another time, we're going to drink whatever it comes up with, and I'm going to give it some tasting notes, and yeah, we'll give it a score with a bit of an asterisk. But yeah, here we go. Why don't we go ahead and spin the wheel and see what we get? There we go. And 3, 2, 1, spin. Moment of truth. Aaron 10 post rebrand. Well, we've already reviewed that one on the channel. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to remove this one from the list since that is already on here. And we're going to spin one more time. All right, slight technical hiccup. Let's give this wheel a spin. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Westland 6-year Binny. Oh man, I'm going to have to search this one, but we're doing an American Single Malt from Westland Distillery, 6 years old, Binny's single barrel. Let me go track that one down. Hopefully it doesn't take me too long. All right, I managed to track it down. We do have a 1 ounce sample. This was a blind tasting. Maybe I'll look up the results depending on how long this goes. But this is a single barrel, bought at Binny's in the Chicago area, sent to me by my brother in a blind. This was distilled back in 2016. I believe it said it was 6 years old. So probably bottled in 2022, maybe 2023, and is bottled at 50% ABV. So I took a look, did not see this on Binny's website at all. Appears that they may be completely sold out of this and couldn't pick up any more cask or pricing information, but that's okay. This is more of just a fun thing to do, even if it's just for me. But why don't we go ahead and get this thing nosed and tasted and give it a score. So right off the bat, you get that quintessential American Single Malt kind of note. It's a dense maltiness that kind of has it's a bit of a, I want to say like an acetone or something like that. It's not sharp. It's kind of rounded and dull, but it's really hard to explain. I used to recognize it as like melted butter, but as I've kind of gotten a little bit more experience, it doesn't really smell like that to me anymore, for better or worse, because I don't know if I really loved it when it just smelled like melted butter either. Otherwise, there's some caramel, some pretty thick caramel. Judging by the color, again, I don't know the casking on this. If this was new oak, for 6 years, I will probably say that this was just a standard new oak cask. I don't think that this is refill. It's got some good color on it, and I'm not obviously picking up anything that is just distinctly a wine cask or anything. We'll see. Maybe it'll be more obvious on the palate. This smells good. This is American Single Malt's kind of nose used to kind of put me off a little bit, and I don't necessarily drink them a lot, but they definitely have grown on me, particularly when they get a little bit of age on them. 6 years isn't too bad. Although I just saw that Stranahan's in Colorado either is or has released their first 12-year-old. I have a bottle of the 10-year-old, But yeah, there is now a 12-year-old American Single Malt available for purchase, although it might be distillery only this year. I'm not sure. I think the 10 was originally distillery only, and then it started getting distributed in pretty limited quantities. So a little bit of apple, vanilla. It's got a very kind of pastry. Like, and it's so different to Scotch, but there's like the same elements. Obviously that new oak, which I'm assuming this is what this is aged in, is doing a lot more work. But it's kind of the great thing about American single malts when they aren't trying to emulate the Scotch style, is that there's still Scotch notes, but the dials are turned so differently in terms of what is prominent and what is not. And granted, a lot of them are still pretty young, as I mentioned. But yeah, this one, it's almost turning kind of graham cracker like. It's kind of moving away from that kind of almost, as I think it's like acetone or some sort of like kind of cleaning supply that used to turn me off. Now I think it's morphing a little bit. It's the same note. I can tell it's the same thing, but it's becoming more kind of graham cracker like, maybe a little bit more rye spice, even though there's no rye in this at all. There's a slight dusty quality to it, very very bourbon like in that sense, where you kind of get that dusty corn. This is, I don't know what dusty barley smells like, but the more I nose it, the more I'm enjoying it. It's opening up as well. I obviously just poured it. This is probably one of the more like enjoyable American single malt noses, particularly if we're talking 6 years or younger. It's refined. It's at 50%. I'm not smelling. It's not hot at all. It seems almost elegant, but it still maintains its density. And the more it's opening up, the better it's getting. And this is, I'll have to see if my brother still has this one and see what he thinks of it. I'm sure he'll leave a comment below. He usually does. But since this isn't a super in-depth review, why don't we just go ahead and give this thing a taste and see how it is. Cheers. The thing I'm drawn to immediately, almost as soon as it hits your tongue, is like the spice. It's like a Christmassy spice, which you would expect from, which maybe there are other casks involved in this. Maybe he can confirm below as well. If he knows what cask it is based on the bottle. He might have told me and I might not have wrote it down, but man, that's just delicious. That was sweet, spicy. Again, but it's more of a baking spice. Maybe a little bit of pepperiness. Almost more of like a slight chili pepper instead of like a black pepper. Especially since it hit like as soon as it touched my tongue. It wasn't in the back of the palate. Those apples really came out a lot, like sweet apples. I didn't catch much of the caramel. Maybe there's some lingering on the finish. Let's go in for a second sip right away and see. There was kind of a lot happening there, so we'll see if I pick anything else out. Man, Westland makes good whiskey. If you're a Scotch drinker, Westland does a good job. Again, I'm not an expert on their process or anything like that, but it's kind of quintessential American single malt, but there's a refinement to it. It's they're good with casks. They experiment with they're kind of famous for their Garyana cask, which is like a local type of oak that, if I remember right, they can only harvest trees that have already fallen down. They can't cut down those trees because they're very slow growing. So they can't just replant them, and they're native to the area. But yeah, this is a Christmas treat, and it doesn't taste like sherry outside of just the kind of the profound a degree of spiciness. So whatever casks these were, they're really imparting a delicious spice, and that sweet apple is just, I'm talking like apple pie, but you just pour it a little too, but like too much spices in it, but it works. Front of the palate is where it really kind of tastes like American Single Malt now. And then it turns into something completely unique. Finish is okay, a little short. It lingers, but mostly you just feel the leftover kind of spiciness. Man, that's delicious. I really enjoy what Westland's doing, and I really like what Stranahan's is doing. Their experimental stuff is more, if you're I lived by the distillery for a couple years, and they do quite a bit of experimental work with casks and things. What makes it onto the shelf isn't super wide and varied. Westland's doing a little bit more than that, but there are some distilleries doing good work here in the US with their single malts, and Westland is definitely one of them. If you're a Scotch drinker, definitely give Westland a try. I have a bottle of the sherry oak, and it's really good. Like, it's shockingly good, and probably do a review on that one at some point here, but there's a lot to review. But in terms of a score, I mean, this one's tough to score because I haven't scored a lot of American Single Malt. Actually, I've only scored one. This is the other non-Scotch review that I did on this channel so far. This is at least a 7. Like, this is just good. Yeah, especially November, Thanksgiving coming up, getting in that apple pie mood. This is apple pie in a glass, but whiskey. It's not too sweet. It's not overly sweet. It's a little more spice forward, as I've mentioned. I'm tempted to even think about giving this an 8. Since this is, I'll stick with a 7, which is very good. This is very good. Unfortunately, I don't think I can get another one of these because this is surprising. I don't remember what this scored in a blind. Let me double check real quick. I'll be right back. All right, I found it just for those of you that are curious. Let's see. This was 3 American Single Malts and the Indri Trini, which is one of my favorite world whiskeys of the year. Indri Trini won, and this one came in 2nd place. It beat out the Garyana 6 from Westland, as I mentioned, and the Quintessential from Cedar Ridge, which I had in 4th place. And just because it was 4th doesn't mean I didn't like it. I don't remember specifically, but if we do this long enough, it'll probably pop up on the wheel. But yeah, man, I'm impressed. Every time I taste Westland, I'm actually surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised, but this was a very pleasant surprise, because this is a very good whiskey, and I wouldn't mind owning a bottle of this, given that the price was right, obviously. And sometimes those American Single Malts can be a little pricey, but they're usually not too bad, especially if you live nearby and can get them directly from the distillery. But this has been fun. I'll probably record these here and there and just have them, and I'd probably prefer to do these on Thursday rather than the main Monday video, although the first one saved me because I had a crazy, ridiculous week, and even when I had time to shoot a video, the brain just was not in it. So luckily I had that one ready to go, and but I'd like to do these regularly. Maybe not every single week. I want to do some other videos. I've been working on some other stuff, so we'll see how it goes. But thank you all for watching. Hope you like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and we'll see you all again for the next whiskey review. Cheers.